Hey, what up, guys? In this one, I'm going to talk about my experience in the inaugural TGL match in Palm Beach Gardens at the SoFi Center in Florida. Firstly, I'm going to discuss how the event was and talk about my evening there. Then I'm going to talk about if it was worth it and if you should go. And lastly, I'm going to give my winners and losers, which I'll be giving on a weekly basis based upon the matches that are played that week. So get down there and subscribe if you want to hear my winners and losers for TGL matches going forward. One thing I wanted to clarify is that I am here on my own dime. I purchased my own flights and I have no affiliation with TGL. I'm actually comboing this with a work trip. So I came into this pretty optimistically because this was my own money and pretty much I wanted to enjoy this as much as possible, enjoy it to the fullest no matter the outcome. Even though we all know that the match was lopsided, which we'll get to in a little bit, all in all, I still had a really good time. So let's talk about my evening and how it went. So I pretty much stayed at a hotel that was about 25 to 30 minutes walking distance from the SoFi Center. I pretty much walked to the event and saved $20 on parking. Why not? I showed up about an hour and 15 before the start of the match. When I got there, I walked around, checked out the venue, and I checked out different perspectives. My section was the closest to the screen on the left-hand side if you're looking at the screen in front of you. I thought those were pretty good seats and you can get pretty good viewpoint of the players hitting into the screen. They say that there really is no bad seat in the house, which I kind of agree. But one seat area that I would maybe avoid is the one that is the furthest away from the screen behind the putting green. Everything along the sides, especially in the fan zones, I think will be a good vantage point. I think the prime seats, as identified by TGL, are the ones that the owners were in. So directly across from me, there was the owners from the Bay Golf Club and then also New York Golf Clubs. You had a lot of people who had a high net worth there for sure. But regardless, even though they say every seat is good in the house, there's going to be cons to both of them. Where I was sitting, it was kind of hard to see all the putting action and the short game action because it was a little far away. They had these little screens up above, but those were smaller than seeing the people on the green in person. So I think they really need to make the in-person screens a lot bigger. And I'll talk a little bit more on that in terms of screen size. But if you're going to be really close to the green side, you're not going to be able to see the players take full swings into the actual big screen. You kind of want to see the full swings as well. So pick and choose. There's no like one terrible seat, but you kind of have to think about what you want to see up close in person. Yeah, I would say the distance is on average probably similar to an actual tournament. When I got there, pretty much checked out the stadium, walked around, got to my seats and got my vantage point. Thought it was a really cool vantage point. And I just ended up talking to the people that were already there in my section. So it was kind of like part of a, foursome with three other strangers playing actual golf. And I introduced myself and I met some really cool individuals. So let's talk about gameplay. Pretty much they try to make it like a live spectator sport. When they had the players come in, it was like NBA intros where they introduced the starting lineup. So they had this person has won X tournaments and is the champion of this tournament. And it's Ricky Fowler. And then Ricky Fowler just starts walking in. And then when play started, we were on our way. The shot clock was pretty awesome. I think it kept things moving along. The shot clock was a major key in the success of this product overall. So here comes my biggest criticism. One thing that dawned on me quite quickly was that the live mics, and this is pretty obvious now, but the live mics situation was for, the television product and not the in-person product. And I get that because you don't want to hear yourself, talking and echoing through the stadium. In the in-person viewing product, you couldn't even hear the golfers talking to each other because there was music playing and they were not like talking to the crowd. They were just talking amongst themselves. I think the production quality was actually a lot better on television than it was in person. So take that for what you will. If you decide to go in person, it's a very raw in-person experience. And I know Roger Steele, he was doing a great job being the MC and trying to get the crowd into it, trying to guide the crowd into what to do, and then also like what to like focus your attention on. But I think something to think about is that all of these sports that we go to, all these spectator events, it's kind of ingrained in the DNA of a fan of what exactly to do at what time. Like, if you're watching a football game and you're chanting defense, when your team is trying to stop a 3rd and 5 or something and from getting a first down in football. Those things started developing naturally over time when a lot of games started being played. So I think right now TGL is kind of missing that because this is brand new. Me personally, in the future, I'm thinking, if there's like away and home crowds, if there's stadiums being built across the country, if like the Bay is in a playoff, my team, I want to start like getting rowdy when the opposing team is putting a putt and making them nervous. That's kind of what I envisioned, getting pretty rowdy. But the crowd in person was pretty mild. there was like some cheers when a drive would be watched and observed on the screen, and if it hit the fairway, we would cheer, but if it hit the rough, we would kind of boo. Or if someone on a par 3 missed the green, we would kind of boo, just like at the Waste Management Open. If people missed the green in the stadium hole, they would boo that person. Roger still only encouraged like loudness between shots and not real controversial, and trying to interrupt play for the athletes one way or another. But if I'm a home crowd, I want to interrupt the other team, kind of thing. But that's not golf, right? That's not, usually you don't try to interrupt the other person or any person in their swing. So that's something that's going to have to be developed over time, and I'm curious to see which direction everything goes. One thing that I noticed is that after each completion of every hole, there was like a downtime where firstly the cup would change on the green, and then maybe the green would spin and rotate, but then there was downtime for introduction of the hole maybe, or players just get ready to hit, and that almost felt just as long as gameplay itself because the shot clock was so quick. The TV product probably does a good job at masking this, but in person, in between holes, it was really noticeable. And that's something also that has to develop over time, like the entertainment, the MC, the things that people do in between holes. Like maybe there can be trivia or something going on in the scoreboard, like in football games there's like dumb little games, or some section wins something for participating, blah blah blah. Those gaps, there's a lot of opportunity to fill that, and I feel like they need to do that in order to keep the crowd engaged. At halftime, there was like not halftime, but after the alternate shot was completed, that's an intermission. I took that as an opportunity to go get food. I got a Power Bowl, which was $18 before tax and tip, but afterwards it was like 21 something, like maybe $22. Very filling, but tasted like Chipotle in a good way. And then someone else in my section, got me a transfusion. So like I said, the section that I was in, we were all having a good time. I was just chatting, we're talking about, oh, this is pretty cool, talking about everything and what that was going on, and trying to figure out how to enjoy everything. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, after there was no chance for the New York team to come back, like, everyone kind of tuned out because it was a foregone conclusion who was going to win. But I could totally see like, hey, like if it comes down to the wire, that'd be very exciting to see in person. But like all spectator sports, you can't predict the outcome. That's why there's a lot of gambling in sports. And, that's sometimes you're going to get a blowout. And this was definitely a blowout. I think it was 9-2 overall at the end of the day, which is crazy bad for the New York Golf Club. Yeah, that was pretty much it. After it concluded, just went home and walked back to my hotel and called it a day. But I would say overall, very solid. So that was pretty much my experience the day of. And I wanted to give you the in-person experience so I can answer the question to you if it is worth it in person. So worth it, all these worth it videos, and it's always hard to answer that question. For me, I paid $259 for the ticket. The front row seats were $259. Every seat behind that was a little cheaper. I think all the other seats were like $194 at the time I was looking. So I picked the front seat. I think it was cool to sit in the front. I don't think it's completely necessary. You can definitely save the money. It didn't matter that much, sitting in the front row versus 2 rows back. I'm glad that I went to the inaugural match. It was part of history. But would I go again this year for the playoffs if the Bay Club, if they made it? Probably not. Given the flights and hotels are going to be expensive, it's not worth it to me to pay for the ticket and then also pay for those other accommodations and use my time to fly across the country to watch TGL. If I had never seen TGL and I took a leap of faith and went to the playoffs, I think maybe I would do it. But since I've already been, I don't see the value for me as being worth it going again. However, this is where it gets interesting. If you're in Florida and you're local and you're within maybe like a 2-hour drive and can do a day trip, I would totally do it if you're interested in TGL in the slightest. And yeah, pick up a ticket and go see these guys play. It's a cool experience. They have announced the schedule, right, to where a lot of the times are more early in the day for Eastern time zones, where you can probably make it back in the same day pretty easily if you're within a 2-hour radius. For me, that'd be the same as me driving to go see the Sacramento Kings play, and I live in the Bay Area, which is a couple hours drive, and then just come back after it's done. Now let's talk winners and losers of the inaugural TGL match, the Bay Club versus New York Golf Club. So we'll talk winners first. The first winner that comes to my mind is the shot clock. Everyone loved the shot clock. 40 seconds seemed to be a good amount of time for things to flow. Whoever was the brainchild, like I said, behind the shot clock, kudos to them. Very good idea, very good cadence. Next winner was the technology, no hitches. It was perfect. Not a single shot missed, and it was good to go. So that was a definite winner for sure. Surprisingly, one of the other winners is the virtual holes themselves. So yeah, I posted in my other video, there's like 3-course architects that were involved in creating the virtual holes. And some of it was kind of gimmicky. There was like a lava hole. But when you think about it, golf courses are designed normally for skill levels of all types. But what's cool about virtual holes is that you can create specific holes for the pros who are the best of the best. And some of the par 3s that they made, even a par 5 that was 700 yards, but the par 3s, they weren't hitting the greens because they were like 230 yards plus. Kudos to that. They're a definite winner in my book. Another winner is Team Golf itself. So after the match concluded, I went to all the forums and checked all the comments and stuff like that. And people were having discourse similar to that of like an NFL or NBA game where, like the match was so lopsided. Like I saw jokes of, New York golf fans saying, oh, we need to rebuild or trade away everyone, tear down the team. So that was kind of funny. And then some people were like, dang it, the Bay is already a dynasty coming in. So those kind of conversations were kind of cool. Like, I don't think Liv struck up those conversations because Team Golf was just a part of the main product, but it wasn't like they were playing together as a team. They were just playing individually and their scores added together to come up with a team score. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Team Golf, definite winner in my book. And lastly, another winner is TGL on TV. So all the discussions that I've seen so far have been pretty positive about TGL, especially the TV product. A lot of people that I talked to said it was better than expected, and they probably will improve the product over time. If there's a lot of continual improvement, I think it will grow. We'll see. Like I said in my previous video, the Tiger Woods and Rory match is going to be really important for the growth of this. They have a couple memes that came out of this where Shane Lowry joked that he was the Scotty Scheffler of sim golf. There was another part in the match where I think Ricky Fowler threw down the flagstick while someone was putting because it was already over and blocked the putt. So funny moments like that. But they need a lot of those highlights and memes to come out of that Tiger Rory match to explode into higher trajectories. And the last winner, of course, is the Bay Golf Club. Shane and Ludwig played really well. Ludwig had like basically the biggest putt of the match that kind of just like gave him all the momentum. It was like a huge sweeping putt, and when he made it, even Tiger Woods was impressed. So yeah, the Bay Golf Club were definitely winners. All right, let's talk about the losers here. Of course, New York Golf Club, they're going to be the losers, but notably for me, it was Matt Fitzpatrick. Just every time he stood up to the ball, it almost felt like we knew he wasn't going to hit a good shot for some reason. I don't think he adjusted well to sim golf. Everything that I saw from him, he kind of pulled to the left. And then, he did have one of the better chips of the match, but everything else was just not good into the screen. So yeah, New York Golf Club, not great, especially for Fitzpatrick, but I think he'll probably turn around. Another loser was like the teams in terms of the locations that they're coming from. A lot of conversation that I overheard in the stadium was like people asking how these teams were assembled. Because when you think of the Bay Golf Club, yeah, sure, some of the investors are from the Bay, but in terms of the people on the actual team, there's 3 internationals and then 1 person from America, not even close to the Bay. So interesting. I think the owners played a part in terms of who they wanted on their roster. And there's probably like an owner-player conversation on how they got these rosters assembled. Another loser here was actually the big screen. So if you didn't notice, you probably didn't notice if you're watching this on TV, but the big screen, awesome in person, I will admit, hitting into it, pretty cool. But after play goes from the big screen to the putting green, the big screen just like ends the gameplay. It like freezes out and then it's not utilized for anything else. I think the big screen is tied into the simulator and it's not tied into any feeds of the stadium at all. Probably because it's really not fragile, but if you keep switching feeds from like a live feed camera to, the sim golf camera, you could maybe cause a glitch or something. I don't know. But pretty much, I thought the big screen would be used for live action because me sitting so far from the green, I can't see the green. So I was like, oh, let's utilize that big boy screen and put the putting, short game part on it so I can watch it easier than having to kind of like, peer away into the distance for the short game area. Yes, there were screens that you could see above, but they were smaller than the actual in-person experience. So like even the screens that were used for live feeds or replays weren't all that useful to me. And the last loser here that I want to talk about is the hammer. So the hammer, hammer comes from, betting terms on golf courses between, big people with a lot of cash to burn. But the hammer, it's explained multiple times during the match. You can basically put the hammer down, makes the whole point total 2 points instead of one, or you throw it on the hammer, the other team can concede and just give you the single point. Basically, the hammer was used incorrectly in my opinion, and you kind of need to get more into the game theory behind it, but it was very underutilized in my opinion. And so it was just a flag that was held in the back pocket like a referee in the NFL. But I want the hammer to be like a foam thing or something cooler than just a little flag that you toss on the ground. But that probably won't change. So that is my winners and losers of the inaugural TGL match. Let me know in the comments if you watched on TV and what your experience was. For me, I guess my main takeaway is that the live mic part, for me, I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get to hear any of the golfers in terms of what they were saying. But like I said, overall, I had a great time, enjoyed the people I was with. We had a good time cheering and booing and doing all the, sporting event things that you would do at a football game or a basketball game. I'm happy that I went. I got some merch. I'm glad that I got to experience, but don't have to go again for a while unless I'm compelled to do so. I'll just watch it on TV. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. Keep chasing. And we'll see you in the next one.